Hi everyone, good evening. Welcome to Business Live. Coming up tonight, economic growth for 2019 estimated at 6.5%, with the services sector contributing the largest. Rating agency Fitch keeps the country's outlook as stable and affirms ratings at B despite raising some concerns about the economy. And tonight on the Joy Business Van, we feature a young artist, Bright Danso, who is putting smiles on the faces of people despite the coronavirus pandemic with his unique skill of designing with hot metals and fire. We've got plenty more coming up on Business Live tonight. Do stay tuned. We begin tonight with the latest GDP numbers. Estimated growth rate for 2019 stood at 6.5%, according to data from the Ghana Statistical Service. The latest rate shows a marginal increase from the 6.3% recorded the same period last year. The services sector has remained the major contributor to growth. Here's more in the following report.
The services sector recorded the highest growth rate of 7.6%, followed by industry 6.4% and agriculture 4.6%. The services sector remained the largest sector. Two of the subsectors and the services contributed more than 5% to the 2019 annual growth rates. These are the information and communication subsectors, with a growth rate of 46.5%, and trade, repair of vehicles, household goods subsector also contributed 0.4 percentage points to annual GDP growth. The industry sector contributed 2.4 percentage points to 2019 annual GDP growth rate. The main driver of 2019 GDP growth rate and the industry was the mining and quarrying sector, with a growth rate of 12.6%. There were contractions in the construction and water and sewage management. The agri sector grew by 4.6% in 2019 compared to a growth rate of 4.8% in 2018. Its share of GDP declined from 19.7% in 2018 to 18.5% in 2019. The non-oil annual GDP growth rate decreased from 6.5% in 2018 to 5.8% in 2019. The slowdown in growth rate could be attributed to a 10.4% growth rate in mining and quarrying, excluding oil and gas, in 2019 compared to 48.6% in 2018. Contractions in the forestry and logging, water and sewage and construction subsectors also recorded a slowdown in the non-oil GDP growth in 2019.
All right, some more numbers for you. Rating agency Fitch has kept the country's credit outlook as stable and affirmed our credit worthiness at B in its latest credit review on the country. The move is coming at a time that another rating agency, Moody's, has reviewed our outlook from positive to negative. JoyNews has more.
According to Fitch, the decision to affirm our ratings at B and a stable outlook was based on the fact that they foresee a recovery after the coronavirus and the fact that government will have access to additional financing to deal with the current fiscal pressures. Now, despite expressing this optimism, Fitch was however worried about how government was going to manage its expenditure during this election year because it has been the norm for it to overspend. It also noted that if the pandemic should last a little longer, then it could worsen the situation for the country. Fitch, in its report, warned that it sees Ghana's debt-GDP ratio increasing substantially to 77% by the end of this year. Fitch's review is coming at a time when another rating agency, that is Moody's, has reviewed Ghana's outlook to negative from positive. These reviews are more of a warning to investors that looking at the country's present position, it may have some challenges the next year in paying its debts. While Fitch is more optimistic about the situation improving, Moody's doesn't seem to have the same view. Ghana is currently reviewed by three agencies, that is Moody's, Standard & Poor's and Fitch. Government has subscribed to these agencies to review its creditworthiness every year to aid its international borrowings and bond issuance.
Now, a development economist at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology is predicting difficult times for factories and other businesses after the coronavirus pandemic. Dr. Kofi Anthony stopped short of giving figures but indicates small and medium enterprises will be mostly affected. He fears the effect could be deepened if COVID-19 pandemic persists longer than anticipated, since Ghana's economy depends largely on international trade. Dr. Fosu, who is also board president for policy think tank Think Smart Africa Foundation, has been speaking to Prince Apia.
We may not have problem with demand side, but the problem will be with the supply side. And so the serious effect of recession, where combination of supply side and demand side may not be what will be observed. And that is why that school of thought is thinking that it is not going to be a recession that hitherto we have known. Now, what I mean is that, you see, people are in the house. Now, somebody like me who is a pay employee, I'm paid. Now, whether I'm in the house or I'm not in the house, the government will pay the salary for me. I have no problem. But consider self-employees. You don't spend your capital, but you spend within your profit. Your profit is the reward to you, like your income. Now they are in the house. Whether you are working or you are not working, you need to consume. And people even borrowed or they took money from their capital to make purchases against the lockdown. Now they are spending within their capital. So after the recession, the problem is how to get capital to go into production. You have exhausted your capital. How do you get capital to go, and if you are a person who is a middle woman or middle man or buying, selling, how do you get money to go and buy and come and sell? If you are a producer producing goods, you have spent all your capital. How do you get money to continue production? That is where we say supply side. It means that productivity is going to go down. People go to China to bring goods. People go to Dubai to bring goods. For how many months borders have been closed? Even it was closed in China before our borders were closed. So people could not go. You are sitting in the house. How much profit have you accumulated years before to say that I am spending within my profit? There are people who are paying workers. You can say that because of I'm producing below capacity and therefore I will not pay the workers. You pay the salaries. Why are you paying the salary? You are paying from, if you have accumulated funds, fine. Otherwise, you'll be paying from the working capital. So when the pandemic is over, you start production, then that is where the problem of supply comes in.
Now, all the news about human suffering, markets crashing, unemployment as a result of the coronavirus pandemic can really cause some depression. So here's something to brighten up your day. The story of Bright Danso, a student who is actually home because of the pandemic. He's building a career for himself as an artist with the rare technique of making designs with heated metals and fire. Bright invited the Joy Business Van over to show us some of his exceptional work.
Love it. Hello, Joy Business Van. My name is Ken Amenophis, and you're welcome to my mini studio.
Designing with fire? That sounded pretty out of the ordinary when I heard about Ken Amenophis. Oh, that's pseudonym for Bright Danso, a final year student of Takoradi Technical University. He's an artist who specializes in pyrography, free-handed art of decorating wood or other materials with burn marks, and Lichtenberg art, the art of creating tree-like patterns by the passage of high-voltage electrical discharges.
I'm going to produce a Lichtenberg fractal imagery stool, which signifies the pains, the struggles, and the length of days our parents take to bring us up as kids. This is my baking soda and water. First of all, I paint the surface of the stool with the baking soda and water.
Bright got exposed to this kind of art when he was in senior high school.
I didn't start as a pyrography artist. I was just an artist drawing, a kid playing with his pens and his pencils, trying to do something. And then I realized that, I can do much more than using just the pencils. So I thought to myself, why not try pyrography and then see the outcome? So I ended up using soldering iron to make few drawings and then know the outcome. So after the few drawings made from the soldering iron, I went online and I started searching some of the various tools that I can use to enhance my work.
Don't be deceived. This is not just burning wood surfaces. Bright's designs are carefully thought through. His works are mostly inspired by circumstances. He tells me about his favorite artwork he calls Unitech, highlighting the inequality in the country's educational system.
The thinking that went into Black Unitech is when I decided to go to school, and then I realized everybody thinks this school is better than the other, and when you are here, you are better off than being here or there. So I entered into school, and then I came to think about it, and I was like, no, I don't think one is better than the other for who that person is.
Bright's artworks, no surprise, have generated a lot of interest. He has been commissioned several times to produce his Pyro-Lichtenberg art pieces, costing at least 450 Ghana cedis, that's $80 or even more.
Sometimes it's not really about even the piece that I sold, but the fact that an art piece that I produce is able to make somebody smile, or is able to put a lot of love in the eyes of someone. Some people see my art piece and they feel like, wow, they see the power of God around, because it's overwhelming and it looks like this is God.
That feeling, that is what excites Bright as he builds a career as a Pyro-Lichtenberg artist. There are not so many such artists in Ghana at the moment, and the prospects are bright, but there are hurdles.
Trying to network yourself as an artist is not an easy thing. To get people to purchase the stuff that you are buying, marketing, and then all the other stuff are a big challenge. Being in school and then working as an artist. Currently I'm in school, and then I need to come down here and then work, go back to school and go and study as well.
After school, Bright wants to build his own studio and has even bigger plans.
The bigger vision is to have an art academy in Ghana that is built by myself with the help of whoever is willing to help me, because I've realized that people don't pay much attention to artists in Ghana. So with the art academy, people will be trooping in from all other sides of the country, and then when they come in and they study here, that it is going to generate a lot of revenue to the country as well, not just myself.
For now, Kinamenethis still reigns.
Bright down, so the young artist giving us something to smile about. You're watching Business Live. We are taking a short break. When we come back, we'll have a discussion about the latest GDP figures released by the Ghana Statistical Service. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Business Live. Just by way of recap, economic growth for 2019 has been estimated at 6.5%, with the services sector contributing the largest. Let's have a conversation around this. Joining me is economist with Data Bank, Courage Boti. Courage, great to have you tonight. A marginal increase from 2018, with the services sector contributing the highest. Any surprises in there?
Not at all. Good evening to your listeners. I wouldn't say there are surprises. If anything at all, the 6.5 out of 10 is a few basis points lower than what government projected from beginning of the year. I think that was 6.8% they expected for 2019. But we've seen events along the year and led to several revisions, even from the IMF, that expected something lower than. I think it started from a 7.1% projection and revised downward to the 6.8 we talk about, and ultimately we are ending at 6.5. Given the circumstances of lower crude oil prices on the market, and then we've had several issues of negative sentiments towards the emerging market that actually affected performance, of course, of the GSE and all those other places. It just epitomizes the overall performance of the economy. I think what rather interests me, or what I found kind of enticing, is the fact that the financial sector is out of recession. They've been in recession for the last 2 years, I think 2017 and 2018. But this year, the financial sector, a subset of the services sector, is growing at around some 1.7%. That I found interesting, and I also realized that the information and communication services sector also grew quite significantly, 46.5% growth in 2019, as against 13.1% growth in the previous year. Now that tells you all of the digitization agenda we seem to be promoting, things happening at the port, things happening at the state agencies, DVLA and all of that, plus the fintech revolution and how it's taking over the financial markets. I think it's playing a big role. And we saw also that Vodafone rolled out their 4G package, I think somewhere last year, when they bought the fiber from the NCA. And so all of those probably may have added to the digital revolution that recently saw quite a significant jump.
Right.
In that, I think the surprise is agriculture.
Yes, I was going to make that point, because we saw a decline in agric, which was showing promise the previous year. And so what do you attribute to that?
Well, the data shows there is a contraction in the forestry and logging sector, a contraction of 1.7%. The growth rate, let's put it in context, 4.6% growth in agriculture as compared to 4.8 last year isn't really bad. If you put it into the statistics of it, because the agriculture sector had expanded from a 2.2% in 2016 to 7.2 in 2017 and to 5.8, of course, as the base gets larger, you expect that the rate of growth will slow down. If you look at it from that angle, you will not say 4.6% growth is that bad. But I think that, of course, cocoa prices are quite firmer than they have been in the past, and cocoa kind of dominates. Cocoa and the crop sector in general kind of dominate that sector, but productivity hasn't been that great. I mean, from when we attempted to hit 1 million tons, metric tons a year, now it's largely around the 900 plus, and then we have been around that level. Given that prices haven't recovered so much, I mean, you wouldn't expect so much growth. And given that the base is also expanding, planting for food and job is giving us productivity gains. But what are the prices also in the market? The increased production in food, we are told, is leading to lower prices of food on the market. So if you look at those dynamics, yes, 4.6% is significant, but it's a shortfall from what we saw last year. And I think it can be understandable in that light, that the base effect may be affecting growth in the agri sector.
Okay.
And also, agri sector has so much slack, so with the appropriate investments, we should sustain growth in that sector. And, and that investment, probably what they've done with Planting for Food and Job has yielded certain growth, but we need more investment in that sector to even scale it up.
So that leads me to my next point about what your projections would be, because we are also having to deal with a different kind of situation in 2020, which has got to do with the coronavirus pandemic. We're already seeing what it's doing to the oil market. What do you think would be the impact on our projections for this year?
Well, it's a difficult year, not only for Ghana, but of course for countries all across the globe. And then the reason is simple. With these lockdowns, with productivity losses, companies closing down and all of that, you do not expect so much growth. And so from our earlier growth projection, the Ministry of Finance is really looking at something lesser than what the other institutions are looking at. I think 1.5% in the worst case scenario. And that is even just a preliminary analysis. I think the thing that will work for Ghana and for most other countries, unlike in 2017 and 2018 when the financial crisis hit, was that the response is quite early and then significant. Now we are seeing that just in the heat, even as the issues are evolving, we are seeing stimulus packages from the government. We're seeing monetary stimulus from the central banks all across, to the tune that we're getting around some 11.3 billion injection into the economy as a way of stimulating economic activity. I think these are the things that will invariably ameliorate the impact of the COVID on economic performance. Things will slow, no doubt. 1.5 from the Ministry of Finance position. I think our forecast places somewhere around 2%. For the year, and I've seen a few other agencies also place it around that level. Okay,
Courage. Let's quickly move on to the conversation to do with Fitch. I'm not sure if you can hear me, but let's talk about Fitch's ratings, or well, we wouldn't say ratings, but it affirming creditworthiness at B. I'm asking you about this because just 2 days ago, Moody's released its review where it moved us from positive to a negative. How do you reconcile these two reviews?
Great. So we had this conversation, and I think your question to me was, what Moody's did, is it fair? Is it a fair rating? Yeah. And I found difficulty giving an answer, and I said, well, I can understand what they did, but I am not happy about it. And I think what Fitch is putting out today is the exact reason I am not happy about. So we all understand that, yes, COVID will bring difficulties. We understand COVID will bring financial consequences, and then it has consequences for our debt position, our ability to service those debts, and then, of course, our fiscals. No doubt about that. And we think that while those negatives are there, Ghana has also made some progress in recent years that are rating positives. I mean, for instance, the fiscal responsibility laws were passed, and then the financial management adjustments we've made, and the legal regimes we have to guide public financial administration are supposed to anchor the process going forward. And we see also that the Bank of Ghana has actually has gained more independence now, to the point that the monetary policy administration is becoming more and more effective by the day. The reason we have successfully curtailed inflation. We've seen our external accounts, even though still very fragile, improving. So we thought that while the negatives are there, the best thing, of course, the outlook is not positive.
Unfortunately, we are running out of time, Courage. Thanks very much. As always, very insightful speaking to you, Courage Boti, economist there. The conversation continues. Do stay tuned on Joy News. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Thanks for watching.